From a secret location in New York City, Stovetop Studios, underground dungeon. Here is Mr. Caldero from Watchthepotcast, YouTube. And his co-host, John, the movie guy.
Raw!
How's it going, John? Ready for some movie talk, man?
That's right, we're doing so good. The month of December is on us before we know it. That's right, Christmas time, Kwanzaa time, Hanukkah time, Boxing time. We're here for all the holidays.
I couldn't have said it any better. I can't think of any other holidays. So, we missed last month because things were so hectic and we couldn't keep up and we wanted to watch some movies. We're going to have a main event for the later on segment. But for now, we're just going to talk about what movies we just saw in general. And I definitely want to talk about, just keep it on a light tip, Let's Be Cops.
Let's Be Cops.
That movie was awesome. I had low expectations. It looked funny, but it was way funnier than it looked.
That was definitely true.
The commercials didn't do it justice.
No, and that's why it was such a nice surprise, because half the time these days, you see everything in the commercial, so when you go to the theater, it's all the talking and all the boring stuff. So it was, for a slapstick comedy type of movie, it was pretty good. I was very surprised that the Damon's kid, he looked so much like his dad. It kind of freaked me out at a lot of points.
Yeah.
And although he was funny, but the other guy I felt like was funnier.
Is there any other casual, smaller movies that you saw?
I saw Neighbors, although it's called Bad Neighbors in releases around the world.
Okay.
But it is called Neighbors in the United States, starring Seth Rogen and Zac Efron, which was pretty good comedy in and of itself. It was mildly laughable. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
So, just to keep it on the Christmas tip, last night I had to watch I Am Santa Claus.
Oh yeah? The documentary. Did you like that?
I must say that I had high expectations for it because I'm a wrestling fan, and former wrestler Mick Foley was one of the Santa Claus in the documentary. And I enjoyed all of his stuff a lot. But as far as the other guys, it was a little too intense for me, as far as especially one of the other Santa Claus. It was like a gay couple, one of the Santa Claus, and they were very intimate as far as kissing and going on ferry rides. And I'm not even making this up. They went on a ferry ride and they kissed. So it's a little awkward, and I enjoyed the Mick Foley segments because he's a humorous guy. But it bottomed out for me. I really expected a lot more. And Mick Foley himself is promoting it on different podcasts, so it got me excited. So I just really thought that it was going to be over the top magical, like I was going to have twinkles in my eyes, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like, when is this over? Where's Mick Foley? There's not enough Mick Foley for me.
Now you saw that on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
So that I Am Santa Claus is out right now on Netflix. It has won a few awards. It's open independently. Interestingly, it's on Netflix, but it's also at different Landmark theaters, which Landmark theaters are independent movie houses around the country for viewing if you don't want to watch it on Netflix and you want to go to the theater and have a big screen feel to it. I heard a lot of good things about it. I did know about the gay aspect of it and I guess there's a Santa Claus Association of department store Santas, and they're revolting against this movie. They're saying that it's on the blacklist, which is actually only driving me to want to watch this movie even more. So I probably will check it out in the holiday season, but definitely I won't check it out when my kids are around because that would just freak them out.
It's definitely not. And lower your expectations, you'll probably enjoy it more because my expectations are way too high.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. Is there any casual movie that you saw? Because I got a bunch.
I did see a few movies, but just even before getting to that, this month in December, We are about 365 days from the 2015 release of Star Wars Episode 7.
Oh, that is so true. I was gonna bring that up later, but since we're talking about it, we both have Star Wars shirts on. We did not plan this. It just happened the way it happened. He has a Talk to the Han shirt with Han Solo pun on it, and I just have a R2D2 and 3CPO shirt. And it was just, on my computer right now I have a Darth Vader helmet. So that's just because of the Star Wars hype. You want to talk about the trailer for a minute?
Yeah, let's talk about the trailer.
The trailer was to just say pretty much what everyone else is saying. It was very cocky of J.J. Abrams to not show any old characters. It was kind of like, believe in these new characters.
Well, I disagree, because in Star Wars, it's not just the physical human characters that are a big portion of it. The fact that Millennium Falcon and the X-Wing fighter made big scenes in it, those are actually characters unto itself, which a lot of people in other podcasts fail to recognize how big a character that Millennium Falcon actually is throughout all the movies. When, especially when if you think about the big battle scenes in 4, you have the X-Wing fighter as a character. And even though Luke's behind it, it's the X-Wing fighter that actually blows up the Death Star. And then if you look at Episode 6, it becomes what ship? It becomes the Millennium Falcon that actually blows up the Death Star. Regardless of who's piloting, it's those ships that do it. Now, when you look at Episode 7 trailer, you have the Millennium Falcon, the X-Wing fighter, skimming over the water. And then you have the Millennium Falcon doing twists and turns, showing its agility for a big ship. So I have listened to the podcast, and I totally disagree that they didn't show any of the old characters. Those are two very important characters that other people don't really think about. But,
That's kind of like, I guess, as like Harry Potter's broom is a character.
It is. It is.
In that same way.
That's true.
But still, holding back on the older characters, physical characters, was smart. Because you don't want to just give everybody exactly what they're looking for right away.
Right, and again, the X-Wing fighter, the Millennium Falcon, those are going to be...
That'll last for a while. You don't need more than that.
Those are going to be unchanged characters, really. What's going to be changed are how Han looks, how Luke looks, how Leia looks. Those are characters that are going to be changed, and as you get introduced to them in the storyline, that can be evolving with the story. So I think actually he did a really good job with that. It was very well thought out on his part. Whether he intentionally made it as far as I'm dissecting it to be or not, I don't know. I tend to think that J.J. Abrams is a genius in terms of the way that he lays out his movies and the way that he thinks about his movies. I mean, his mind is nonstop, 24 hours a day in terms of how he does things. That's why he always puts out a quality product, regardless of what other people think he does. But I believe he puts out a quality product.
And it's a good start, but I just wish I had the name. I think there's somebody already picked for Episode 8. Like, that's not him. Because I don't think that he wants to spend his whole life making Star Wars movies.
I've heard that as well. I thought he was doing 7 and 8, and someone else is doing 9. But we can look that up later. Everybody's got Google.
But you never know how much of a hand he's gonna have either way. Maybe he's just gonna be just in general, just in the background, even if he's not directing, still producer credit. Still involved in the storyline and stuff.
That's true. He could very well be.
The same way that Christopher Nolan had a producer credit on Man of Steel and he didn't direct.
That's true. And speaking of Christopher Nolan, don't we have something to talk about with Christopher Nolan?
Oh, yeah, that's later on. I still have other things to talk about.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do. I have one thing that I was ready to be disappointed about. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The moment I've been waiting for a very long time.
Back from the 90s.
Back from the 90s. Well, I had all the toys and I loved the first 2 older Ninja Turtle movies. Those are dear to my heart. Even though the Vanilla Ice thing was corny, it was fun. And go Ninja, go! it's still cool.
Now, April is played by Megan Fox. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you feel like she distracted from the movie or added to the movie?
Since I had such low standards for the movie, I actually enjoyed it a lot. Because you go in there thinking this is going to be a train wreck and it comes out all right, then it's
interesting.
It's all right. I actually agreed a lot on how they became the turtles. Like, they actually used scientific things this time, and they used just more realistic. Like in the older movies, they just like ooze happened to fall into a sewer and landed right where there's turtles. Like,
that's right.
That was kind of like, oh, you know, how peculiar. This new one, not to blow the load on this one, but it's more like scientific. A guy kind of put in a lab, just had these turtles. And it happened to be that April O'Neil's father was the one that did this. And she, as a girl, has footage of her seeing the little turtles acting super active already as they were small. So it kind of makes more sense with the newer age. But the biggest complaint I can say about the movie is the CGI. It's too much. It doesn't feel like they're there. It feels like not like Megan Fox and them feel disconnected. They don't feel like they're in the same movie. It just feels like, you know, she was talking to air.
I see.
And conceptually it was good, but I just think that it's a cop-out doing all CGI. I think the J.J. Abrams approach is great because he's doing half CGI and half realistic things. So you could just manipulate something and just touch it with CGI and it'll still look very real. So, I don't know, the CGI is so stretched out.
And that CGI is so like 10 years ago in terms of just adding CGI for the sake of CGI. They really should have thought about that further, because when the computer technology came out to do it really cheap, a lot of movies, aka Episode 1, they kind of overwent with the CGI and almost ruined the actual humanistic, emotional feel of the movie. So I understand what you're saying when it takes
a lot out of it. It makes you not feel like you're in the movie.
Right, and it gives you kind of a superficial feeling about what you're watching, and you don't really feel it. I mean, look at.
But I did enjoy it.
Look at a lot of animation films, even though they're animation and quote unquote entirely CGI, right? They're entirely.
But that's the thing. I'd rather have entirely CGI because it's all together CGI. Like, it's all the same. It's not Megan Fox standing next to. I kind of always have problems with the Hulk and the Avengers. I don't think that CGI is to the point where it's realistic enough. I think that, hey, I'll take it, but it's not like amazing.
Right.
I think that the best thing they can do with Thanos is pretty much do half CGI, half real body armor on him. But before I get to the main event, I want to talk about a very surprising, well-made movie that I saw the other day. A Kevin Smith movie titled Tusk.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to give this a rating for a stovetop rating because it's that good.
Oh, it's bubbling.
I'm going to say at this moment, and just the way it made me feel, an unexpected good movie from Kevin Smith, I give it a high. Off, low, medium, high. Highest rating in this review. It's a high. You know why? Because it's the best movie it could possibly be for the concept.
Wow, that's a high rating.
And it may not have like the best makeup. It looks good. It may not have but conceptually, I'm not gonna like talk about what the movie is. Just watch the movie. But conceptually, that movie is really good. Like this, all I'm gonna really say is, scary things to me is when things are more realistic to happen. Like when you have like ghosts and aliens, that's more far away from reality for me, so it doesn't scare me as much. But things like this movie Tusk and like more realistic horror movies that are just a crazy guy that does crazy things or type of it can happen if you go to the wrong place at the wrong time. This movie is one of those.
So is it like a psychological thriller?
It's a psychological. I don't want to expose too much, but I went in thinking it was gonna be kind of like a comedy that has a good concept, but I was wrong. It had its funny moments, and I don't know his name, and I wish I remembered it. But the main star he was in Waiting. He was like the main guy in it. Not Van Wilder, but the other guy.
Oh, the kid.
The black haired one that was roommates with Van Wilder. I'm calling him Van Wilder. What's his real name? But either way, movie's awesome. Check it out. I don't want to talk about it too much because the less you know about Tusk when you watch it, the more you're gonna enjoy it because you're not expecting certain things to happen.
Justin Long.
Justin Long, I think that may be his name. Yes, Justin Long. He's the star of this movie, and his It's funny. This is a podcast. This doesn't spoil anything, but he is a big in the movie. Him and his partner are big podcast guys, and it's about making a story and talking about stories. So it starts out humorous, and his co-host is the kid that formerly said in an epic movie, "I see dead people."
Oh, Haley Joel Osment.
I believe that's him. If that's not him, then I'm bugging out. But I'll put a lot of money down saying that's him.
That it is him. It's Haley Joel Osment. That is.
Yeah. So this movie's good. The woman in the movie I'm not familiar with, but it's really good. And there's a few surprises.
That's good to know.
So don't read too much, John. Just watch it. Just close all the blinds if it's early. And I'm gonna give that a high. Since I did a rating already, let's talk about your movie, Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6.
And please don't spoil anything for this young man.
Big Hero 6 is an excellent film. It is an animated film. It's definitely interesting. I didn't really expect anything going into it. I really felt like it was going to be a Wall-E type movie where it was not outstanding, but it was good, and there was a lot of emotional things that were too drawn out, and you almost saw the end like halfway through the movie, and the purpose of it and the environmental aspect of it. It was kind of too concocted. I felt like Wall-E, but that's what I felt like this was going to be, but it was entirely different.
Is this like the first Marvel animated feature film?
Well,
because I know it's Disney, but it's still a Marvel.
Right, the characters are Marvel.
Is this the first of its kind?
That's released in theaters?
Yeah.
I believe it is.
That's taken serious to that
level, yeah. And ultimately, it really does create the same type of vibe as The Incredibles from 10 years ago, and it does it on a grander scale. So if you liked Incredibles, you're definitely going to like this type of movie because it has a better character development around the main person. The Incredibles is more like a family style. This is more like the family style of the 2010s. It's definitely where it's not just family because you're blood, but it's family because you're all friends and helping each other and doing those things. The effects are incredible for a animation, as always, from Disney and what they put out. It's a high quality product. I did not watch it in 3D. I watched it in regular flat, old school 2D, but it was still greatly entertaining to me. The character was lovable. The big character, Baymax, was lovable, and yet he was still a flat character. He was still a character that wasn't quote unquote human. There was a lot of twists in it that were surprises.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there was a lot
This movie has twists.
Yeah, and there's a lot of heartstring moments where I heard other people around me crying. So it was definitely a good movie in terms of
that. I'm gonna have to watch that alone. 'Cause I want to have a nice cry. Nobody around.
Yeah, so it's definitely like a heartstring heart pull moment. I didn't look at my kid to see if he was crying or not, but I think he was. But I definitely know that I heard people sobbing around me.
Wow. Is it kind of like the same feeling for Toy Story 3? That type of... Because I remember my nephew cried at the end of Toy Story 3. Like,
well, see, that's the thing about Toy Story 3. You have 3 whole movies to develop,
builds up
to develop an attachment to these characters. And to have it end the way it did and to have the good feelings at the end, it was a culmination of those things. And that's what we're talking about. Toy Story 3 is entirely CGI, and yet you connect with these characters. Same thing.
Because they stay true through the whole thing, CGI.
That's right.
There's no humans, there's no Megan Foxes in the film.
Yeah. So it is definitely, in one movie, develop an attachment to all the characters. It's actually...
I got a major question for you.
Sure.
What is your rating, John?
My rating...
Low, medium, or high?
It is definitely a high.
Oh.
It's definitely high. It's one of the movies that you purchase. You don't regret purchasing. It goes on my shelf right next to some of the best movies that I will keep rewatching over and over and over again.
That's a movie that I'm going to purchase before I even watch it. Because I have the confidence in it being good.
You will not regret that.
I did that with the movie Scarface. I just bought it. Some people told me they remastered it and they said, watch Scarface. I bought Scarface. It's a great movie. I don't regret it for a minute. And matter of fact, I need to upgrade to the Blu-ray.
That's right.
As far as Scarface is concerned. So that movie gets a high rating. That's awesome. For me, my big epic movie of the month is Interstellar. A Christopher Nolan film.
Interstellar.
This movie, a lot of people critiqued it, saying that it wasn't the hype that it was supposed to be. I totally disagree. I think the movie was 100% like the concepts were great. Everything was the story was told very well, and it's not an action film. It's a mind-provoking film. You go in there thinking that you're gonna see Fast and the Furious type of stunts and ridiculous plot points where people just like The Rock could just hold on with grip from the side of a train for like 2 miles. This is more in the realistic realm, and I wish I could be a little bit spoilish about this, but I won't be, because this is another story like Tusk that you need to just watch it and just enjoy it through and through, and just have your own thoughts about it, because the movie just has a lot of moments that you're just like, whoa, do I get that? And then they drop another bag of laundry on top of your head that's just as confusing a minute later. So you're just like, okay, I'm going to have to let that go just to try to figure this one out that came right after. You're kind of just like, that's a movie that I'm going to buy just because I need to rewatch it over and over again. I get it overall. The overall concept is clear to me. But like the little things the threads that explain everything in the middle are very like, hold up, wait. If you do this, then hold up. So if you go here, then it's kind of like that mind state without actually telling everybody what the movie's about.
Now, he did another movie that's very similar to that. Do you remember the movie Inception?
Inception. I actually never saw that movie, and I'm looking forward to watching it because I feel like it's kind of like this movie.
And the thing about the movie Inception is, even though there wasn't, like you said, overall you felt like there wasn't a lot of action in it. There was a lot of action in it, and it was paced well. How do you feel about the pace of Interstellar?
It was very long, but to the credit of the film, it didn't feel very long.
We'll say that's
it felt like a regular sized movie.
And that's what I was asking.
And it was very long. It was close to 3 hours.
That's what I was asking. There's a lot of people that felt like the movie was terrible just because they just saw it for the sole value of the length, and they didn't really enjoy the material. And of course, when you're sitting somewhere for 3 hours and you don't really like what you're watching, it's going to feel long. But if you're engaged into the movie itself, it's not going to feel long. As a matter of fact, if you're engaged into a movie itself, 3 hours isn't even long enough. You wish it would just keep going on and on and on. That's how I feel about a movie.
So to get to the nitty gritty, my rating for Stovetop album review, movie review, is my choices are off, low, medium, high. How I'm feeling right now, I'm giving the movie a high because I still walked out of there talking about it in the car with my brother and my friends. Like, let's try to figure this out together, guys. Like that, to me, that invokes a good movie. That this makes you talk about it the whole way home, and the next day I turn around, tell my friend like, so when he, went to that spot, then we're still, and I would love to see that movie again. So that movie gets the highest rating. Big Hero 6 gets the highest rating. So we had a really good month and a half of movies. A lot of movies were seen in my part. And I just want to mention that I really wanted to see Dumb and Dumber 2, even though I hear bad things about it. But I also heard bad things about Ninja Turtles. That it was the biggest disgrace ever made. So, who knows? It was number one. Dumb and Dumber 2 was number one in the box office for at least a week. So, I'm looking forward to that. And I also want to mention that SNL had a skit making fun of the Star Wars trailer.
No, I didn't see that.
That is hilarious. They have, they say the new, and then they say the old. And then they show, somebody dressed like Princess Leia, not Princess Leia. Oh yeah, Princess Leia, like a dude, like an overweight guy dressed as Princess Leia with glasses and looking like Carrie Fisher now kind of look. It was very well done. And I forgot to mention that droid. Is it called the droid? That it kind of looks like R2-D2, but it's in a circle and it runs.
The little wheel.
I heard that was like a prototype for the older movies, but it just didn't look right back then, so they just had to make a different change to it. But I heard that was the original prototype for R2-D2.
Interesting that Abrams would pick up some of the older things. So you can really
tell that he cares about what the base of the whole history of Star Wars is all about.
Oh, definitely.
You can tell that he's really invested in doing things right. And all the previews that he shows of a video of him talking, and there's different characters in the movie walking by in the background. He's really showing you that this is not CGI City.
And what's interesting about that aspect is that, one of the things is when you say you're a sci-fi fan, people always ask you, are you a Star Wars fan or are you a Trekkie? And they always kind of put you in a box if you're either way. And it's funny that Abrams is coming from, directing 2 Trekkie movies, and then now he's going to be moving on to Star Wars.
Bridging the gap for people that
That's
just want
right.
to argue for no reason.
That's right.
That's the same argument when it comes to Marvel and DC. Just watch good movies.
Fanboys.
You don't have... If that movie's awesome, by the way. You don't have to pick a side. This is not a drama on WB. You can like both things. That's very much okay. And before I forget, there's news on Sony getting hacked.
That's right.
And Marvel was talking to Sony about possibly bringing Spider-Man into the fold for the Civil War storyline. But it also kind of shows in the hacked emails that it doesn't seem like it's going to work out because Sony doesn't want to give up power on Spider-Man's behalf. They don't want to diminish Spider-Man because, Marvel has their own things going on and they have their own priorities to push their own characters. So that hurts even more when something's more of a possibility and it doesn't happen. As a fan, for me, it's Spider-Man could have been in the Avengers 3, and it's just not going to happen now because they just kind of they tried and it didn't work.
Well, Spider-Man, to be fair, Spider-Man made them a lot of money back in the early 2000s. So they're not going to give that up too easily. For
2 movies, just to have a cameo, why not?
It's proprietary. They don't want to release that information. They don't want to release that, and of course, going to that, they don't really care about Marvel. They don't really care about DC. They care about their own own characters. They care about their own
But
lines.
just conceptually, if you think about it, if me as a fan, if they add this Spider-Man into the Marvel universe, I'm gonna go buy the other two Spider-Man movies just because. If I'm buying the whole collection of all the Marvel movies, and you add Spider-Man to one or two movies, I'm gonna buy the other Spider-Man movies. They have to think in the future sales. That's bringing new life to Spider-Man. And then when they come out with their third Spider-Man finally, it's gonna mean so much more. Because he was in the Marvel universe. I think that they're thinking small time and they need to smarten up, partner.
Maybe. I think that they just stick in with it because solely financially they don't want to get into the mix. And they aren't, you're right, they're not thinking long terms in terms of the fan. They're thinking more of the
But money as well.
But they're thinking of the casual movie person.
They're thinking about just movie sales.
That's
they're not
right.
thinking about the home video sales. And the movie sales will boost too. Spider-Man 3 will make so much more money if he was in 2 Marvel movies. Then he finally got his third movie. It's going to mean so much more. But is there anything that you want to talk about before I wrap this movie talk up?
Just in terms of since we are in the superhero, always seem to be in the Star Wars and superhero theme, which we always keep falling back into even though we talk about other movies. This week was announced that Jason Momoa is going to be playing Aquaman in the DC films. I believe the last time we said it was slated to come out possibly in 2017 for DC with a lead into the Justice League. But
I'm so glad you said that because I have more to talk about.
But Jason Momoa, you might not know the name offhand, but you might know him for those Game of Thrones fans as Khal Drogo, the one who was very important in season 1 as the Dothraki Khalasar. So he seems like he'll be a good fit for the type of Aquaman that isn't just a lame dude who calls fish with rings around his head. He seems like the type of Aquaman that is in the DC 52 reboots, where he's a badass. He's missing an arm, got like a harpoon for an arm, and someone who's scary, someone who's intimidating, and it's definitely somebody who can bring a different part of Aquaman out instead of just a simple type of Aquaman who just who stands at the beach and can't get on the sand.
He definitely has a look. I'm not familiar with him, but he definitely has the right look. I also want to mention that a big casting for the Suicide Squad movie that came out, all the roles were revealed, or at least the main roles. Will Smith is Deadshot.
That's right.
So, what's his name? Jared Leto, I believe.
Jared Leto
is going to be the Joker. And who else is in that movie? Harley Quinn, I believe, the role is casted by I forgot her name, but she was in the movie Wolf of Wall Street. So they got a good lineup so far. So hopefully Will Smith and Ben Affleck are going to be in a movie together eventually. And Jared Leto, I believe his name is.
It is Jared Leto.
Okay, so other than that's pretty awesome. That news as far as the Suicide Squad. That's kind of their Guardians of the Galaxy, I think.
And Guardians of the Galaxy also dropped this month, about a week ago, onto Blu-ray and digital release. So that was a big thing just in time for the holiday sales, which I think a lot of people are going to grab out that movie because I finally did watch it. I finally did get the DVD, and I really enjoyed Guardians. Hopefully next month we'll have a lot of good things for you. I know you said you were going to try to watch Dumb and Dumber. I'm going to try to go out and get watch Gone Girl.
Gone Girl, I hear really good things about it.
So I'm very curious to do that. And plus, of course, in the next couple months, the Oscars are coming out. So there'll be a lot of quality films that are releasing in December and January that we won't have time to keep up with, or we'll try our best to keep up with those. Hopefully, the Oscars will be sending us those promotional releases. Since I am part of the Screen Actors Guild, and I can
and
get
you got people in the loop, and you know this and that.
And I can get some of those movies, so we'll be able to review them on the fly. But that's all for me in terms of December and movies and the bubbling pot.
And I just thought of a new name for you just now.
What's the new name?
John Solo.
John Solo. I dig it.
On the Star Wars tip. Mr. Caldero signing off, and see you in January. Hopefully we can get some movies knocked out and talk about those.
That's right.
So, from the secret hidden Bat Cave in Stovetop Studios, see you next month.